wizard.
Hi, I'm Everett Abrams, the Wizard of Wood, and I'm here today with Deck Restoration Plus Deck and Wood Stain to show you how our stain can be applied to either wet or dry wood. The first thing we want to do is, because we're going to be soaking the wood, is we're going to mark these so we know which one is the wet and which one is the dry. And now we can know which one is which for this demonstration, so we can kind of show you on a smaller scale of how we apply the stain to wet or dry wood. It's pretty neat for both contractors, even homeowners, if we can apply this stain to wet or dry wood or damp wood, meaning we can get it either all done in one day or even the next day, which you can't do with a lot of oil-based and a lot of other products. So it's a big advantage using our product is being able to apply it to any type of condition with the wood. So what we're going to do for now is we're just going to take this dry wood and we're just going to set it aside. Okay, and then we're going to take, I have a bucket of water, and I'm just going to take this wood, I'm going to actually submerge it right in the wet wood into the water. I'm going to soak this thing, okay? You can see, wet, it's dripping. You can see the difference in tone and color. Wet wood, dry wood. It's very wet. I'm going to let it sit in there. Get it good and wet. I want to make sure that everybody who watches the video is getting the full effect. Okay, now we'll just shake some water off of it and we're going to lay that down. And then what happens is, if we're working in the field and this is real world, we're not going to actually go like the next minute and stain this. We've already washed, restored the deck, cleaned it, brightened it, stripped it, whatever it was, and got the wood back to that nice new natural look. Then what we're going to do from there is we're going to clean up, we're going to get our tarp set up, we're going to start getting ready to brush, we're going to get ready to start staining and so forth. So we can clearly see, I'm just going to set the water down, and then I'm going to bring up our Deck Restoration Plus Deck and Wood Stain. And what we're going to do here is we can still see this is wet, and I can actually run my hand on it and my hand is still pulling some moisture off of this thing. And again, we're probably going to let this sit for at least 10 minutes before we get right to it. If there's still puddling on the deck, you should blow it off. A lot of times we also have a contracting company, and what we do with that is the guys will grab lunch, grab a coffee, grab a snack, whatever it is, for a few minutes, and then they get set up and then they come back. It might be a half hour or so afterwards. This is real world though, so we're going to take this and we're going to stain, and we're going to do what's called a 2-coat brush application. What happens is stains and sealers will repel themselves. If the first coat completely dries, then the second coat will sit on top. It doesn't actually get into the water, grab that good coat, and that's what we're going to do here, and we do recommend that. We also usually recommend, depending on how warm it is outside, to try to get that as soon as possible. So it may be within 30 minutes on a warm day, it might be in an hour on a cooler day that you have to put on that second coat. But anyway, we'll put on the dry coat, as you can see, and basically what that's doing is it's giving it a wet look because we're using the natural on pressure treated wood. And we'll set that down. Then we'll take the wet wood and we're going to put a coat on here as well while it's wet. And basically by the time we put on the 2 coats, wet on wet application, what will happen is you will see that there's not much difference between the wet and dry wood. As a matter of fact, when I show this up at the end of the demonstration, I'll turn it over at the end and you'll be able to see, wow, it's hard to believe. But anyway, we're using a natural. Our natural is called Burlington Gold. And the reason we call them naturals is because you want a little bit of pigmentation in your product, because that's what gives it its UV protection. But in this case, we're showing the natural. We do have 10 other colors besides the Burlington Gold, a little bit darker as we go up, the cedar, the redwood tones, we have the grays and so forth. And you can find that information out on our website at deckandwoodstain.com. But for now, what we're trying to do is, the reason we're using the Burlington Gold is so what we're trying to, like most people want, is that, how do I get that natural look, the look when it's wet? Because people will tell us after we restored wood, or you will see this when you restore wood, hey, it looks great the way it is. How do I keep it like that? By putting on a natural. For us, our Burlington Gold, it gives it the wet look. As you can see, we've only put on 1 coat, and you can already see it's pretty close to the same tone and color. Okay, we're gonna let that sit for 5 to 10 minutes and we're gonna put on a second coat, which we call our wet on wet. All right, we've let 5 minutes go by. We can tell with the hand, nothing's coming off, even on the wet side, which again, wet wood, dry wood, and we can still see stuff on the wood, but it's still damp. But this is when you want to put your wet on wet coat. Do not let it completely dry. And then what we do is we'll apply our second coat onto the dry, and you can see it's going into the wood, it's going in on the wood nicely. If it beads up or it starts to bead up, then usually what that means is the first coat is dried too much to put on the second coat. So you either have to work quickly or get moving or just stop, because what happens is if it beads up, it means that first coat is repelling the second coat. And as I alluded to, stains and sealers will repel themselves. Okay, and then we put on a second one on the wet one. Okay, and then we're gonna let that dry. And then when we come back, we're gonna compare the wet wood, the dry wood, and the tone. And we're also going to take a look at how our product is not like other water bases, where it actually, and you'll start to see it here, it actually goes into the wood, it penetrates into the wood. A lot of people think water bases are all film forming. When something goes away, it's gone. Ours is actually penetrating, which means our maintenance moving forward is a light clean, real easy, and then we just replenish what has worn away on the top, like an oil base. That's why we say ours is the water base that works and performs like an oil. A lot of advantages to using the Deck Restoration Plus Deck and Wood Stain. Let's let it dry and we'll come back and take a look at the result. Okay, we're back to look at how the wood is dried, and it's been about 15 minutes for this to dry, so it's dried pretty well. It can rain on top of our stain probably in about an hour, sometimes a little less, sometimes a little more, again, depending on how warm it is, how sunny it is, and so forth outside when we're staining. So this is pretty well dried. Again, this is our Deck Restoration Plus Deck and Wood Stain Burlington Gold, which is our natural tone. So what I want to do first is pick these up, and a couple things I want to show you. One is if you look at the ends of the wet and dry wood, kind of gives it away which one's is which. It actually penetrates into both. This is not a film forming product like I had mentioned. And when we turn them up and we look at them, we can't tell the difference. It's the same. It's beautiful. This is going to hold up for about 2+ years, 2 to 3 years, somewhere in there. We want to get back into a light cleaning and replenish this, okay? So when we turn this over, we're wondering which one's wet, which one's dry. What happens is, here we go, dry wood, wet wood, 91422, the same boards we used from the very beginning, marked, and there you go. You can't see the difference. And when we put it on a piece of pressure treated, like we did here, you can see what it looks like when it's dry, and this is what it has with the tone, and again, it gives it that wet wood look. So again, our Deck Restoration Plus products, they come in 1 gallons and 5 gallons. This happens to be our Burlington Gold. The labels are actually what we actually used, or actually work that we've actually performed on from our contracting company and used our products, which we've been using for over 20 years. This isn't a new product that's just came out 3 or 4 years ago. We made it more available to the public, and it's really been just a lot of fun with the product, because it's opening up doors for contractors and DIYers both that weren't open before, being able to have the flexibility to use it in wet, dry, or damp wood, and also being a penetrating water base. So again, it's a water base that performs and acts like an oil, and it's definitely the next stain product you want to use on your deck or your wood surface. I'm Everett Abrams, the Wizard of Wood. Thank you for watching the video. If you have any questions about our products, again, please visit us at deckandwoodstain.com or call us toll free 866-440-3325. Subscribe to this channel and look for more videos on our products. Thank you.